Good evening. We have to begin tonight with a message posted on the internet. It sounds completely ridiculous, I know. You would think in the middle of a shooting war, with American lives on the line and the global economy hanging by a thread, we would be beyond talking about social media posts. But this is exactly where we find ourselves. A few days ago, the United States Secretary of Energy, a man named Chris Wright, posted a message on social media. He announced to the world that the United States Navy had successfully escorted an American oil tanker right through the Strait of Hormuz. He said the president was maintaining the stability of global energy. He said the Navy was out there, right now, making sure the oil kept flowing. Now, let's stop and think about this for a second. If you are a cabinet secretary and you publicly announce a major, highly dangerous naval operation in a very active combat zone, the normal assumption is that you have your facts straight. You would assume that someone at the Pentagon told you this actually happened. Did he think it was true? Did somebody in the White House hand him a piece of paper and tell him to post it? Did he have any good, solid, verified reason to believe that the U.S. Navy was actually escorting civilian oil tankers through a war zone? Because it wasn't true. It was completely false. The U.S. Navy was not escorting ships through the Strait of Hormuz. They hadn't done it. They weren't doing it. Within minutes, the tweet was quietly deleted without a single word of explanation from the administration. But the damage was already done. Oil markets swung wildly. People who trade commodities for a living panicked. The price of crude spiked because the market realized the people in charge might not actually know what is happening on the water. And the really crazy part? That little incident with the energy secretary making things up on the internet wasn't even the start of how well the administration is handling this supposedly teensy little problem in the Middle East. This is a problem that Donald Trump reportedly thought would be absolutely no big deal. He decided to launch an unprovoked war on Iran. He ordered the strikes. And before he did it, Trump reportedly told his advisors that he honestly did not believe Iran would close the Strait of Hormuz if he attacked them. He just didn't think they would do it. Look at the map. The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow strip of water. It connects the Persian Gulf to the open ocean. About 20% of the entire world's oil supply goes through that tiny little gap. If you choke it off, the global economy starts to suffocate almost immediately. It is the single most important energy choke point on planet Earth. Trump told his people Iran wouldn't touch it. Of course, Iran touched it. They closed it immediately. Then the president's defense secretary, Pete Hegseth, went out and told the press that the Strait of Hormuz was open for transit. He told the public that ships could go through safely, except for the small matter of the Iranians actively attacking the ships that tried to pass through it. Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, the play was fine. Then the president went on Fox News. He was asked about the crisis, and Trump told the network that commercial ship captains should just show some guts. He said they should just sail their massive, slow-moving, highly explosive oil tankers through the strait anyway because they had absolutely nothing to fear. Why? Because according to him, Iran was completely defeated and wouldn't attack any more ships. And then right on cue, Iran attacked more ships. They hit tankers, they used drones, they used missiles. The water was quite literally on fire. So then the president changed his tune again. Trump said that the U.S. Navy would be happy very soon, very, very soon, to start actively escorting commercial ships through the Strait of Hormuz. He said we would put American warships right next to the tankers and guide them through the fire. And then the actual United States Navy was like, no, my lord, no, we cannot do that. The military brass had to step in and explain reality to the White House. They refused the near-daily requests from the shipping industry for escorts. The memorable phrase used by military insiders was that the narrow waterway would be a kill box for the United States Navy if they even tried to do that right now. It is too narrow. The Iranian missiles on the shoreline are too close. Putting our billion-dollar destroyers in there right now to babysit oil tankers would be a suicide mission. So the Navy said no. Then, in advance of a huge presidential press conference today, administration sources started leaking information to the press. They apparently told reporters that very soon, the U.S. government would be announcing a massive global coalition of allies. This grand coalition of nations would all be working together, sharing the financial and military burden to escort ships through the Strait of Hormuz. The leaks were everywhere. We were about to announce exactly who our brave international allies were going to be in this joint, collective, worldwide effort. And everybody in the press printed it. They printed it just like that meant it was actually going to happen. When will we learn? Watch what they do, not what they say. Because a few hours later, the president walked out, held that press conference, and completely blew up his own administration's story. He stood at the podium and announced, "We don't need anybody to help us in the Strait of Hormuz. We don't need anybody. We can do it ourselves." He completely rejected the idea of a coalition, but then in the very same appearance, just minutes later, he said that he would be announcing very soon who, nevertheless, was going to be helping us in the region. And then, as if that wasn't confusing enough, he spent the next 10 minutes berating and insulting our international allies for not doing anything to help us in the Strait of Hormuz. So reporters all over the world did their jobs. They started checking with their own governments. They called London. They called Paris. They called Tokyo. And indeed, whatever the president thought he was announcing about other countries coming to help us in the Middle East, the truth became very clear very fast. Nobody is coming to help. They are sitting this one out. And the harsh reality is, despite what he claims, the president cannot do it alone. The military just told him they can't do it alone right now. It's a kill box. So what do we actually have here? Where does this leave us? I mean, maybe we'll get a ballroom out of it, because let me tell you who is doing really, really well out of all this chaos. Russia. Russia is having a great week. As the skyrocketing price of oil completely freaks out the Western world, all that extra money is flowing directly into Moscow. The high price of crude is filling up the Kremlin's coffers. It is making Vladimir Putin's government solvent again. After all these years of dictatorship and brutal corruption and burning through cash on their disastrous grinding war in Ukraine, Russia was bleeding out. They were running out of money. Now, thanks to an unprovoked American war in the Middle East that shut down the Strait of Hormuz, the price of oil is through the roof, and Russia is cashing the checks. But Russia is not just getting rich off of Trump's war in Iran. Russia is actively outright helping Iran kill U.S. troops. They are helping Iran target U.S. facilities in the Middle East. You don't have to take my word for it. The president's own ambassador to the United Nations, Mike Waltz, literally went on television and said it out loud. Ambassador Waltz said Russia has a wartime strategic partnership with Iran. Iranian officials have publicly confirmed the exact same thing. They are openly bragging that they have Russia's military cooperation. So Russia is funding its own war in Europe with the oil money we are generating for them. And they are turning around and helping Iran shoot at American soldiers. Now, we reported last week here on this show that the president had responded to that incredible betrayal by really making Russia pay. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Let me correct that. No, he didn't make them pay. The president responded to Russia helping kill Americans by relaxing U.S. sanctions on Russia. And since we reported that last week, he has done it again. He has further relieved Russia of the burden of U.S. economic sanctions. While Russia is helping kill American troops in the Persian Gulf, the White House is making it easier for Russia to do business globally. But it actually doesn't stop there. The favors to Moscow just keep piling up. David Korn at Mother Jones Magazine has a new report out today. He reports that the Department of Justice has also very quietly just chosen this specific, highly suspicious time, right while we are at war with an Iranian regime that is backed by Moscow, to do a massive favor for a Russian intelligence asset. They have just chosen right now to ask the federal courts to withdraw a guilty plea and reverse a prison sentence that was given to a man named Alexander Smirnov. If you don't remember that name, this is the guy who the FBI explicitly said is linked to Russian intelligence. This guy has been sitting in jail because he pled guilty to lying to the FBI. Specifically, he pled guilty to bringing the FBI completely fake, fabricated stories about President Joe Biden supposedly taking bribes from a Ukrainian energy company. That lie was the whole basis for an impeachment inquiry that went absolutely nowhere. The FBI investigated it. They concluded not only that those bribery stories were totally false, but that this guy deliberately, intentionally lied in bringing that garbage to the FBI in the first place. And most importantly, the FBI stated in court that he was linked to Russian intelligence at the exact time he was peddling these lies to American law enforcement. He pled guilty. He went to jail. Case closed. Right? Wrong. Now, the Justice Department is trying to get the guy sprung from prison. They are actively petitioning a judge to get his guilty plea completely reversed. And who signed the court filing? The filing in this guy's case has been signed by Todd Blanche. Todd Blanche is the president's former personal defense attorney who was handpicked to be the #2 official at the Justice Department, the Deputy Attorney General of the United States. The Deputy Attorney General is personally signing paperwork trying to help a Russian intelligence asset get out of jail. And let me just remind you again of the context here. Reportedly, Russia is currently using Russian intelligence to help Iran kill American troops and target American military facilities in the Middle East. Maybe our president just can't stop himself from acting to help Russia. Even when Russia is acting to kill Americans, maybe it's a compulsion. Maybe he just can't stop himself. It just feels so good to help Moscow. He simply cannot stop. But doesn't it seem like maybe in the absolute dead middle of a shooting war, he should be able to stop himself from at least helping Iran, from doing legal favors for the Iranian regime, which he has just declared a massive bloody war on? Apparently not. Because also, very quietly, entirely under the radar, amid the noise of this inexplicable war on Iran, the Justice Department has also just moved to drop the largest Iranian sanctions case in the history of the United States. This is a massive federal case involving a Turkish bank, a bank called Halkbank. Halkbank was being prosecuted by the United States government for, again, the largest ever known violation of sanctions on the Iranian regime. They were indicted for illegally laundering and sending tens of billions of dollars to Iran. Billions of dollars that Iran used to fund its military, to fund its proxies, and to build the exact same missiles they are currently firing at American soldiers. That is what that prosecution is about. It is a slam dunk case that federal prosecutors worked on for years. And right now, in the middle of the president waging war on Iran, bombing Iran supposedly because he is so deeply opposed to the Iranian regime and everything they stand for, the administration simultaneously has the Justice Department drop that case. The largest Iranian sanctions case ever. Poof, gone. Because now, suddenly, he wants to let all that slide. It's almost like he's not really doing things for the reasons he says he's doing them, right? It's almost like the public explanations are complete nonsense and the real reasons are something else entirely. Let's look at the money. Let's follow the cash. A few years ago, the Saudi Arabian government took $2 billion of their sovereign wealth fund and handed it to the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. They paid $2 billion into a brand new private equity fund that Kushner set up immediately after leaving the White House the first time. And now Jared Kushner is back. He is officially serving as the U.S. government's point person in the Middle East. He is the guy making the deals. The New York Times is now reporting that while Jared is serving as the United States government's lead negotiator and point person in the Middle East, Jared is simultaneously actively asking the Saudis for yet more billions of dollars for his private business. More than the $2 billion they have already given him. Now he wants more. And you know what? Why on earth would the Saudi royal family say no? For the low, low price of what they have already given him, the Saudis have apparently discovered the greatest bargain in the history of international relations. They have discovered the exact price of renting out something called the Armed Forces of the United States of America to attack their regional rival nation, Iran. This is a war that makes a lot of sense for the leaders of Saudi Arabia. It makes a lot of sense for the leaders of Israel. It is exactly what they have wanted for years. But it makes absolutely no sense at all for the United States. It does nothing for us. It only hurts us. But the Saudis paid for it, and they are going to get what they paid for. Keep it up, boys. Keep it up. More of this war. I have to say, I genuinely do not know why this is not more of a show-stopping, front-page, massive scandal in our country right now. Is it really that hard to see what this is? I mean, here is this guy, the president's son-in-law, actively asking a foreign country for money. They have already given his private business billions of dollars. He is currently asking them for billions more dollars for his personal business, his private wealth. He is asking this specific country for money, and at the exact same time he is asking them for cash, he is also personally making United States government policy toward that exact same country. That's it, right? Those are all the dots you have to connect. It is a straight line. I mean, this is not string theory. We aren't doing advanced calculus here. The result is obvious. If this guy is asking a foreign country for money for himself while also making U.S. government policy toward that country, the resultant policy is naturally going to be whatever that country wants it to be. Because if it isn't, then Jared will be far less likely to get the billions of dollars that he is actively asking them for, right? The core national security interests of the United States of America are literally being exchanged for private income for the president's son-in-law. Is this hard to see? Is this hard to grasp? While we are all sitting at home wondering why it is really that we are fighting this massive new war that the administration cannot even explain properly, the answer is right there in the bank accounts. I mean, for his part, the president's son-in-law went on the record and said he is perfectly following the law and following all the ethics rules. But how would we know? We just have to take his word for it because they also aren't even making him file public financial disclosures. He is operating completely in the dark. And while he collects checks in the dark, Russia helps kill American service members and gets paid for it by the administration lifting sanctions. And the oil markets are in a total meltdown. The price of gas is going to bankrupt normal families. But don't worry. I'm sure BP will get some new oil for us from the molten center of the earth. Because look, they built something out of duct tape and spare pipes. They say they will just work to drill it all up. And maybe the tropical walruses will just junk shot the broken pipes for us if anything goes wrong. So we will all be totally fine. It's totally under control. Meanwhile, back in reality, this is the most unpopular war in modern American history. The polling is abysmal. The public is furious. Nobody wants this. And the president is trying to manage that public anger today by threatening to execute members of the press. He is literally threatening to kill reporters who do not report on the war the way he wants them to. He says they are enemies of the state for reporting the basic facts of the conflict. That'll fix it, right? That will definitely turn public opinion around. Maybe he will just take a page directly from Vladimir Putin's playbook and tell us we are no longer legally allowed to call it a war. Maybe we all have to start calling it a special military excursion like he does, or we will all go to jail, or he'll just have the military kill us all. Sure, that will do it. That's a totally normal functioning democracy at work. But the truth is, the war is highly unlikely to get more popular in the days ahead. The president's repeated daily declarations of total victory have not proven to be enough to actually protect U.S. forces and facilities that have come under heavy fire from Iran and their proxy militias. You can declare victory on television all you want, but it doesn't stop the rockets from landing. A U.S. facility in Bahrain was hit. The U.S. facility in Kuwait was hit. The U.S. embassy in Iraq was targeted. U.S. facilities in Saudi Arabia are under fire. The chaos is so absolute, the planning is so deeply flawed, that we weren't even capable of keeping our own ally, Kuwait, from shooting down our planes. Let me repeat that because it got buried in the news. On the very first full day of this war, the airspace over the Gulf was such a disorganized disaster that the air defenses in Kuwait accidentally shot down our fighter jets. Not one, not two, but three. Three of our multi-million-dollar F-15 fighter jets were blown out of the sky by a friendly nation because nobody knew what was going on. How does that even happen? How was Kuwait able to shoot down three American F-15s? Who is running the command and control over there? The answer seems to be nobody. The pilots survived, thank God. But the incompetence on display is staggering. It is a historical military embarrassment. And because the air campaign is clearly not achieving its goals, because the Strait of Hormuz is still closed, and because American bases are still taking fire, the mission creep is already beginning. Now, tonight, we are sending in a Marine Expeditionary Force. Thousands of Marines are moving into the region. And the president, when asked directly by reporters, flatly refuses to rule out putting boots on the ground. He refuses to rule out sending American ground troops into Iran. A week ago, this was supposed to be a quick, clean operation. Today, the strait is closed. The global economy is fracturing. Our planes are being shot down by our own allies, and thousands of Marines are packing their bags for a ground war that nobody in this country actually wants. Watch what they do, not what they say.